Today we make horror stories with Chat GPT. I
Chat
can't
GPT.
I can't say that.
Yeah, most
That's like
people
way
can't.
too hard to say.
I've used this a little bit, but
Mm-mm.
So we're trying specifically horror stories.
Yeah.
Okay, give me a prompt.
Well, I don't have one of those.
Write a
Okay,
horror story
about
based on.
let's make it easy. The first one, like a witch in a tower.
No,
Yeah,
that's too easy. No,
no.
that's too
I need to
easy.
see what it can do. If it
Based
can't do a witch
on-
in a tower, then it's not going to do anything at all.
Wiener dog. That's not. No. Okay.
Okay,
I think we should retry this one.
No. This is what you picked. Okay. As the sun set on the quiet neighborhood, a sense of unease settled over the area. It had started with reports of strange noises coming from the old abandoned house at the end of the street. But soon, people began to see strange shadows flitting across their yards. And many reported a faint smell of sulfur. Oh, shit.
Demon dog. It's a demon dog.
It's a demon dog. No one could explain what was happening until the day they found the wiener dog. It's spelled wrong. It was small and scrappy. Is that spelled wrong?
I don't know.
It was small and scrappy with matted fur and a crazed look in its eyes. It had been running wild through the streets, attacking anyone who crosses past. Fuck that guy. At first, people thought it was just a rabid dog, but then they began to hear the stories. The wiener dog had been seen lurking around the old abandoned house, and some claimed that they had seen it in the company of a figure dressed in all black.
Okay.
Oh, that's some spooky stuff. As the days went on, the wiener dog became more and more aggressive. And people began to fear for their safety. But now, no matter how many times they tried to catch it, the dog always managed to slip away. As they do. Them slippery wiener dogs. It wasn't until one dark and stormy night. Oh no, it's a dark and stormy night, babe. That's never good. It wasn't until one dark and stormy night that the truth was revealed. A group of brave souls. Good brave souls had gathered at the old abandoned house, determined to discover the source of the strange occurrences. As they crept through the dark and the musty halls, they came across a room unlike any they have ever seen. What's the new room looking like? Like never before seen room. What's it even look like? There in the center of the room was the wiener dog. But it was no longer a dog. It was a creature from beyond the veil, with glowing red eyes and
razor sharp teeth.
Thank you. And standing behind it was the black face. Nope, and the figure in black. A being so evil that even the bravest among them trembled with fear. The bravest among the brave. Oh no. The creature and its wiener dog minion turned on the group, attacking them with a ferocity that could only come from the depths of hell. In the end, only a few managed to escape with their lives. How did anyone escape?
Yeah, I don't know.
Alright, but the wiener dog was still out there, lurking in the shadows and waiting to strike again. No one knew what would happen next, but they all knew the horror of the wiener dog would never truly be gone.
That was awful.
I hated it.
Your turn.
I have no thoughts or opinions.
Story
about
yeah, it is.
A Wi-Fi router. No, now you type it in because you told me. No, you said it was my turn for this Wi-Fi. Thanks. Okay, you read.
No.
The new smart home was a dream come true. It had everything they could ever want. Voice-activated appliances, automated lighting, that's good shit. And a top-of-the-line Wi-Fi router. This is good stuff. But something was off. It started with the Wi-Fi. At first, it was just a little slow, but soon it was barely functioning. That is truly horrific.
They tried to diagnose the problem. I'll take it from here.
Okay.
As they tried to diagnose the problem, they noticed something strange. The router seemed to be emitting a faint hum, almost like it was alive. And the more they stared at it, the more they began to feel like they were being watched. It wasn't until late one night the truth was revealed. As they lay in bed, they heard strange noises coming from the living room. They crept out to investigate, and what they found was beyond their worst nightmares. Wi-Fi router had grown legs and was moving of its own accord. Its blinking lights seemed to pulse with a sinister energy, and the hum had grown into a low growl. They tried to unplug it, but it wouldn't budge, and when they reached out to touch it, they were met with a jolt of electricity that sent them reeling. As the night wore on, the router became more and more aggressive. It seemed to be feeding on their fear, growing stronger with each passing moment. And as the family huddled in terror, they knew they were no match for the malevolent creature that had taken over their home. In the end, the Wi-Fi router claimed them all. Its power was too great, its thirst for destruction too insatiable. And as the sun rose over the quiet suburb, no one knew what had happened to the family that had once lived in the smart home. All that remained was the Wi-Fi router, still humming softly to itself as it waited for the next victim.
I'm gonna be honest, I do feel
That was better.
I do feel like we are all falling victim to our Wi-Fi routers, who do have a taste for destruction. Are you gonna admit that my prompt was good?
It was fantastic.
Oh, don't bring up doubles.
No,
don't start with me.
It's too late. They say... Okay, so doubles? They say everyone has a doppelganger. A perfect double that looks exactly like them. But what if your double wasn't just a coincidence? What if it was something far more sinister? It started with the small things. People would see their doubles out of the corner of their eye, only turn to find out no one was there. But as time went on, the doubles became more and more persistent, appearing in broad daylight and even following them home. No one knew where they came from or what they wanted, but one thing was clear. They were not to be trusted. Some claimed that the doubles had tried to harm them, while others spoke of a sense of overwhelming dread whenever they were near. As the phenomenon spread, people began to fear for their lives. They barricaded themselves in their homes, but the doubles always seemed to find a way in. They could hear their footsteps in the hallway, their breathing just beyond the door. In the end, there was no escape. The doubles had taken over, their numbers growing with each passing day, and as they stared into the lifeless eyes of their identical twins, the last survivors knew that they were doomed. For the doubles weren't just physical copies, they were something far more insidious. They were a manifestation of darkest parts of humanity, the parts that we try to keep hidden. And as they took over the world, they brought with them a darkness that would never be lifted. The age of the doubles has begun. There was nothing anyone could do to stop it.
That one's okay. I do have a fear of doubles, but not in that way. That's like a good way. I'm just afraid of seeing two Leelas. Why are you bringing them into this?
It was the county fair, and everyone was in high spirits.
You hate my reading that much.
The sun was shining, the rides were whirling, and the air was filled with the smell of delicious carnival food. But there was something off about the cotton candy street vendor. He was a tall man with a strange, almost sickly pallor to his skin. Is that how you say it?
I don't know what these words are.
Pallor? I don't know. And as he moved through the crowds, people couldn't help but feel like he was watching them. As the night wore on, strange things began to happen. People who had eaten the vendor's cotton candy began to feel sick, their stomachs churning with an unknown malaise? I don't know. And those who looked into his eyes saw something that sent shivers down their spine. A malevolent glint that spoke of something far more sinister than a simple carnival worker. It wasn't until the next day that the true horror was revealed. The police found the cotton candy street vendor's cart abandoned, with no sign of the man himself. And as they investigated, they found the cotton candy was laced with something that couldn't have been there. Something that was causing people to become violently ill. But that wasn't the worst of it. As the police dug deeper, they found a series of hidden rooms beneath the fairgrounds. Rooms that were filled with strange equipment, arcane symbols, and a sense of dread that seemed to permeate every surface. No one knew what had happened to the cotton candy street vendor, but they knew one thing for sure. He was not of this world. As they tried to forget the horror that had befallen their town, they knew that they would never be able to fully escape the memory of the cotton candy street vendor in his malevolent presence.
Okay, now imagine like you're a cop, right? And you like kids are disappearing or like they're getting sick or something, right? And you go and you see these like underground tunnels and you just said like smells weird in here. You're like, weird vibe.
Write a horror story about and begin.
I'm scared.
It was a moonless night in the desolate plains of New Mexico, and the only sound was the rustling of the dry grass. There's no grass. A group of friends had decided to go camping in the wilderness. They had heard rumors of skinwalkers, beings who could transform into any animal they desired, and who were said to be particularly dangerous on such nights. As they huddled around the campfire, one of them noticed movement in the darkness. They brushed it off as their imagination, but soon they heard whispers that sounded like they were coming from all around them. Suddenly, one of their friends let out a blood-curdling scream and disappeared into the darkness. Panic set in as the group realized they were being stalked by skinwalkers. The creatures seemed to be everywhere, taunting them with their eerie whispers and flickering shadows. They tried to run, but the skinwalkers always seemed to be one step ahead of them. One by one, their friends began to disappear. Some were snatched up by the skinwalkers in their animal form, while others simply vanished without a trace. Those who remained huddled together in terror, knowing that they were next. As the sun began to rise, they thought they had made it through the night, but suddenly they heard a bone-chilling howl that seemed to come from all directions. They turned to see a pack of skinwalkers charging toward them, their eyes gleaming with a hungry malice. In last desperate attempts to survive, their friends tried to fight back, but the efforts were in vain. Skinwalkers were too strong, too fast, and too cunning. They overpowered the group one by one, dragging them off into the wilderness. As the sun rose higher and higher, the skinwalkers disappeared into the shadows, leaving no trace of their presence. The only sound was the quiet rustling of the dry grass, as if nothing had ever happened. Those who knew the truth would never forget the terror of that night, and the skinwalkers who had claimed their friends as their own.
I didn't know they were pack demons.
Well, that's the thing. People say that's the thing.
Who?
People out in the middle of nowhere say that they come in groups sometimes.
If there's a pack of something howling at you, it's potentially a wolf.
There was a town unlike any other, where the people were plagued by a strange and terrifying phenomenon. They called it fear, for it had no other name. Fear was an entity that seemed to have a life of its own. It crept into the hearts and minds of the townspeople, whispering things that filled them with dread and panic. It was a presence that could not be seen, but its effects were all too real. At first, people tried to ignore it, pretend the fear did not exist, but it only grew stronger, seeping into every aspect of their lives. It lurked in the shadows, waiting to strike when they were most vulnerable. Some tried to fight back, to resist the pull of fear, but it was a losing battle. Fear knew all their weaknesses, all of their deepest fears and insecurities. It used them against them, tearing them apart from the inside out. As the days went by, the town became more and more isolated. No one dared to leave their homes, for fear was always lurking just beyond the door. They could hear its whispers in the wind, feel its icy breath on the back of their necks. In the end, there was no one left in the town. Fear had claimed them all, one by one. It had turned their own minds against them, driving them to madness and despair. As the sun set on the abandoned town, fear lingered, a malevolent force that had won its final victory. No one would ever know what happened here, for fear had erased all trace of the town's existence. And so it remained, a warning to all those who dared to underestimate the power of fear, for in the end, it was the most terrifying monster of all, one that could not be defeated, only surrendered to.
Reversible. Fuck off. Say it all. I have a couple of thoughts. One, I just keep feeling like it's gonna end. And there's like another paragraph.
Yeah,
and
so
like,
it thinks of something brilliant.
No. It has a pattern to it. It's like whatever you type in, it's gonna be like, this thing comes to life, kills everyone. Everyone else, just confused. Somehow everyone's dead, but there's people left and they're confused.